Hi everybody, welcome again to another installment of Conversations in Wire. I'm your host, James Browning. I work for a company called Soft Flex. We are a jewelry wire manufacturer that's based in Sonoma, California, and we actually do have a gallery. If you are ever in the Sonoma County area in Northern California, we would love for you to stop by and say hi to all of us. So today I'm actually going to start talking to you about chain making. One of the cool things about working in wire is being able to make your own chain link. So today we're going to be doing a chain called the Cotter pin chain. It's really, really simple. You can change it up with different colors of wire, different sizes. And so today we're going to go about showing you how to get that started. And it's going to be a very fast video because we're just showing you how to make the link and put it together. And then you can make however long of a chain you want. And there are plenty of other tutorials on how to make clasps and your connectors, so we won't have to go over that in this video. We're just going to make a chain. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this is the cotter pin chain. The reason it's called a cotter pin is because the link itself, before you join them together, looks a lot like a cotter pin, which is a type of connection that they use in certain, I have no idea, honestly, what cotter pins are used for. I know that they get put into things to stop, like valves and stuff. You can put a cotter pin in there so that the valve doesn't drop anymore. So I don't, just look that stuff up on Google. That's your best bet. So today, let me show you. This is made in rose gold, and I made it with a very small dowel to make my rings. So we have a very dainty piece here, and I believe I used 20 gauge wire for this one. And then this one, I used 18 gauge. So just jumping up to the next size and then going bigger with the dowel that you use to make these circles creates a really bigger, chunkier looking chain. So we're actually going to work in this size today so that we can get a good picture of how to get it done. So supplies that we're going to need. We're going to need some 18 gauge wire. I'm using bare copper. Our Softflex craft wire is a copper core wire that comes in a myriad of different colors. If it is silver plated over that copper, and then it's got an enamel over that to help not tarnish. So it's really great stuff. I love using it. It comes in dead soft, so it's really, really workable and great to use. And you can find that and the rest of these supplies on our website, which is www.softflexcompany.com, and that Softflex, or company, is all spelled out. So the other tools you're going to need is, of course, we're going to be needing some nylon jaw tools so we can straighten out our wire. We'll need a pair of cutters so that we can cut off the length of wire that we need. And then we'll need a pair of round nose and a pair of regular pliers, chain nose, bent nose, whatever you have. You need to be able to make a bend in your wire. So either chain nose works really well, or flat nose will also work really well for this. So I also am going to be utilizing our Looprite tool. This is something you can get on our website. The cool thing about this is it's tapered and it's marked off on specific sizes. And so you can create your loops over this and you can make sure that all of your loops are the exact same size. So that's why I'm going to use this. All right, so let me get all of these things out of the way here. And let's cut off just a little wire because I did some chaining before I started this because I don't want to sit here and do a lot of manufacturing while you're watching, just enough to make sure you understand the process. So I'm just going to cut off, I don't know, that looks about 9 inches to me, maybe 8. But cut off as much as you're going to need. The cool thing about this project is that you don't have to worry about cutting a continuous length. You can cut off and then cut off more if you need more. So I'm going to straighten this out because it's really important that our wire is straight before we start this process, because we don't want our links to be messed up. They should all be nice and Excuse me, they should all be nice and uniform. Okay, so I made links out of this size of wire. I believe that's about 2 inches. I'm going to cut off some of that wire when I make my loops, so I'll show you that in a bit, but you don't need to worry too much about the exact length of these. You make them shorter if you're going to make smaller links. Like when I made these out of the 20 gauge, I believe I used about inch and a quarter, maybe inch and a half. And then this one, like I said, is about 2 inches. So I'm just going to cut links of that size. And the odd one you just throw to the side. And that is our very first step. So now we have these straight little links here that we want to create a shape out of, and we're going to grab our dowel, or in this case our Looprite tool, and I'm going to decide that this is the 7mm. So my loops are going to be 7mm around. And so what we want to do is we want to kind of eyeball this so it's about halfway, and then we're going to bend them up so that they're kind of the same size, and then we're going to bend them next to each other and then straight down like that. So you should end up with a shape when you take it off that looks like this. Okay, so putting this on the 7 and finding the halfway and bending them up. And I want to try and make them as even as I can. I'm not very good at that, but so we kind of want them to be the same so that when we bend them over, we end up with the cross approximately in the middle, because that makes your job later easier. So try and get that halfway point as halfway as you can, and then just bend it back down. So out there, and cross them over, flatten them down. So the best thing to do in creating chain is kind of set this up as an assembly line. So what we want to do is just do one step a bunch of times and then move on to the next step, because it will take a lot longer for you to create each link individually and try and complete that step and then move on to the next one. So assembly line is the best way to do chain work, I have found. Okay, so this this looks like it was a little bit smaller than the other one, so we're going to see a little bit of fun going on there when I do this. So the next step is we're going to create the cotter pin shape. What I'm looking to do is kind of find that crossover point where the two wires are sitting right next to each other. And I'm going to take one of those wires, I'm holding onto the circle with my fingers, and I'm going to grab that wire and I'm just going to bend it up so that it's straight up from that circle. And I'm going to flip it over, and I'm turning back towards myself. I find that that's the easiest way to do that. And so you should end up with a shape that looks like that. So let's go ahead and just do that again, okay? I find working with the back one towards you is the easiest. And I'm grabbing with my pliers and I'm turning towards me so that it stands straight up. I'm going to do that again. And we're trying to achieve a circle that has a straight out thing like that. So once again, in my directions, I try and tell you to do the right thing, but sometimes I mess up and I go the wrong way. So just try and figure out which way works the best for you. And sometimes it really is affected on the way that you wrap these, because they may end up going the wrong direction. But ultimately, you really want the end products to all look the same, because when we are making chain, uniformity is the key word. And if it will take practice, making like 75 of these chains, full chains, not links. So you're going to make like 7,500 of these, maybe 750, I don't know. So there, we've got that going on. Now, when you are starting this, the very first link, you're going to make loops, but these links here are just a little bit too long. So what I would like to do is shorten them. And I've created a couple already that length. So it looks like I'm cutting off about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. So just once you figure out the length that you want, you can go ahead and pull one aside so that you know what size that you want them to be. And then, like I said, just keep creating each link so that you have one step completed and you have a bunch of those finished up. So, and if you notice, I'm covering these when I cut because these little pieces that fly off will fly everywhere and could fly into your eye. So, safety first. So we are almost done. And like I said, this is a really short video because I've done a lot of the work already and it's really repetitive. So it's going to be dependent upon how long you want your chain. Like for this is way bigger than a bracelet. And I've done 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. There are 20 links here. So honestly, for a good sized bracelet, I think you could get away with so 14 to 15 would be a good size bracelet using the 7 millimeters for your inner circle here and 18 gauge. And you'll have to remember that you're going to add a clasp to that, so it'll lengthen that up. So that's why I say 14 to 15. And of course, it's all going to be dependent upon your specific wrists or whoever you're making it for, of course. So what I said before was the first link that you make on this chain, you have to make complete. So you're going to take your round nose pliers, and if you're really, really good at round nose pliers and doing this part, you can make it so that both of these are being wound together and nice and even. And I am not good. So I tend to do this one at a time. Okay, so what we basically want to end up with is a little link that's got the circle and then these two little loops on the end. Okay, that's our first link, but once we make that link, it's going to change. So first link makes the chain, and then what we do is we take that link and we take our cotter pin and we feed it through those loops we just made. So it looks like that. And the trick on this is to make sure that all of your loops here are facing the same direction. So they're not up and down. They're all on the same facing up or facing down, depending upon how you're putting it together yourself. And then we're just going to take our round nose pliers. And this is how I do it, but if you want to do it a little neater, you can actually use the round nose pliers to make your circle. I just kind of make an arc and bend it so it comes out and touches the wire again. And then what I like to do is kind of go back and match those up so that they kind of sit close to each other. Now, if you had left the length of wire there, your holes would be gigantic. So we don't really want that. We want to kind of cut them down so that they're manageable. And then you just take your next link, do the same thing. And you just keep going. Put on some nice music, listen to an audiobook. I can't really watch TV when I do chaining because I want to make sure that I'm watching my tools. But if you get good enough, I guess you could watch TV. But the point is to make sure that you are being uniform and taking your time and making sure that your loops are neat, not crinked up. And I'm just taking that loop and I'm bringing it back and I'm landing it right on that wire. So there we go. The other thing you have to be careful of is if you make their hole too small, you can't put your wire back through. So just be aware of that when you're making them. That's why I don't say a specific size on your round nose to make your loops at. Figure if you've cut your wire down to a manageable length, you can make your hoops or loops or whatever you want to call them organically instead of using the round nose pliers. And I think it still looks fine. It does look neater if you get good enough and you start doing the loops. They become flatter on this part right here, and so the link lays differently. But you can always go back through with your tools and cinch it up before each link, so that's entirely up to you. So this is a really, really simple link. And there are tons of different chains out there that use the same sort of process where you create each link individually and you put them together. So I'll be looking into seeing if I can find more of those so I can show you. But I think chain making is one of my favorite things to do. Normally I work in chain mail, so I'm using just jump rings to make my chain. And then of course you all know how much I like to do Viking knit to make my chain. So there's lots of different things to do with wire to make chain to hang something that you made special with. Okay, so there it is, the Cotter pin chain. Like I said, you can change up that wire size, you can change the color of the wire, and we'll all get you a different look. So thanks for sticking with me for this really, really short video. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And as always, I love hanging out with you guys. So hopefully I'll see you again in a couple of weeks, and you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.